So we've looked at parking in the onshore. We're now going to look at parking in wind from the side. Yeah, that's right, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV. I'm out on a Hobie 16 and we're going to look at coming into the beach or moorings with a cross-shore wind. It's probably about 18 knots of wind at the moment. I'm single-handed on the 16 and we're going to see how this goes. Okay, so I'll just get the boat going to start off, and already we have one hazard here, which is there's a moored yacht just here. So when we're going in front of any boats like this, it's a very good idea to make sure that all the power is off by this stage and that we're not really giving it the beans going in front of moored boats like this, because if we did capsize, that could be a problem. Okay, so we are directly square to where we want to go. Ahead is the Wild Wind moorings here in Vasiliki in Greece, and where we want to go is just behind the back row of moored boats. And in this cross-shore wind we can hit it pretty square, but what we're going to do is fairly early on we're going to get the boat as ready as possible. There's a bit of traffic, so what we're actually going to do is come downwind a little bit now, because if anything we want to be approaching where we're going on a more upwind point of sail, certainly not a more downwind point of sail. So we want to be either close reaching or beam reaching into the moorings, but with the power off completely. So I've already let the jib off totally. We'll let the downhaul off now as well, especially when it's windy. It's good practice to let the downhaul off completely, because that means when you let the sail out, all the power will be gone. Okay, we're just coming past these lasers and then we can start our final approach. It looks like the approach is pretty clear, but if there were a lot of boats waiting to go in, this would be a good point just to put the boat into the wind, which would literally be by pushing the rudders away into the wind to stop. But here we don't have to do that. It looks like there's a youngster out on a windsurfer, which could be a hazard, so we'll keep an eye on him. So here we are on our final approach. The jib is off and we're just going to use the main sheet and the traveller a little bit if we need to sail closer to the wind. We want to be heading right up here, so we're going to go on the downwind side of this windsurfer and then we're going to head up as high as we possibly can. Better to go on the downwind side, because then if anything happens we're not putting anyone in danger. So there we go, but we're definitely not in the swimming area. Now we've gone past these guys, we can sheet in a bit more, so we're heading as high as possible and we're going to bring the boat really close into the beach. So the jib is off, the downhaul is off, got the main sheet uncleated. We're getting in quite close to the beach. I'll now let the main sheet off completely, turn into the wind, still steering the boat into the wind there, and I'll just, as quickly as possible, get to the front of the boat, and there it is. Once again, we're leaving the main sheet on until the boat is actually on the mooring, because with the main sheet on, it means if you do get your approach wrong and you need to go back out, then you have options. Once the main sheet is off, you have no options. Okay, so now here we are on the Pacific in a similar spot to where we were before. Wind's a little bit stronger now, possibly touching 20 knots. So once again, we want to keep it pretty controlled when we're coming past this moored boat. But now, because we've got a rolling jib on here, we want to roll the jib before we go in. So what we're going to do is take the boat onto pretty much a dead run while we've got loads of space. There we go. And once we're on the run, the jib should roll up pretty easily. There we go, and nicely there. And now we're in a fairly similar position to where we were before. So once again, we want to be approaching the moorings on a beam to close reach. Close reach is ideal because that's where we can control the speed the most effectively. So there is some sort of flying fish operator running a race session just here, which we're going to have to avoid. So at this stage, I'm going to let the downhaul off completely, so then when we stop, we won't have any power there. Okay, and now if we want to sail closer to the wind, we'll just increase the tension in the main sheet. And if we don't need to sail quite as high, we'll let the main sheet out. And if necessary, we'll let the traveller out as well, if we're feeling that we're coming in a little bit too hot. But we can kind of slide in here sideways. So I want to go down a little bit, so I'm going to let the traveller out a bit here. But this time there's some lasers, so I'm going to go to windward of this young windsurfer. Yeah, he's going pretty far downwind anyway. So once again, if we want to go more upwind, we'll pull the main sheet in a bit more, or the traveller if necessary. If we want to bear away and go downwind more, then we'll let the traveller out. So I'm going to let the traveller off now completely, ready to stop. But like with before, we're leaving the main sheet attached until we've got a good firm hold of the boat. So here we are, bringing in the boat really shallow into the beach. And there we go, we're gonna push the rudders hard away, getting to the front of the boat as soon as possible. Here's Mr. White Slice with quite a slippery hand by the seems, so it seems. Okay, but that's some good valet parking help there with the Pacific. Okay, that's right, we're on a laser now, just to complete the picture. We're a little bit further in from where we are before, and we're going to try a similar approach. So I'm just going to put the dagger board up a little bit at this stage. I'm going to let the kicker off as well, which should in theory mean when we sheet out the main, the power will go a little bit more readily. I do want to get downwind a little bit here, but there's quite a lot of traffic. So what we can do is just kind of sit flapping a bit until we get a window in the traffic available. But in fact, I think what we'll do is we'll put another tack in here. And we'll come downwind a bit further out, so we've got a bit more space. Okay, now we've gone downwind a bit more. Gonna go for another tack just here. Just like with the Catamaran, sheeting in the mainsail. Let's get it around a bit better. I've just noticed my rudder's not cleated down. So it's a good idea in the strong wind to make sure your rudder is cleated down, even if we're going into the moorings. So now we can just reach straight in. So that little bit of extra downwind we've done out here means we'll have a much safer approach, because we certainly don't want to be going downwind through traffic, especially in this sort of wind. So just coming in a bit here, still having to hike out. Coming up a little bit. Okay, what we're trying to do is kind of close reaching to the boats which are on the back moorings. So that's going to mean we're in the right spot. We're trying to get as far upwind as possible in this channel that we have to enter into, but without coming in from too far up. So I'm just going to come downwind a little bit here, just because there's a laser setting off. I have to give them at least a mast length in case they capsize. God, there's some bloke on a flying windsurfer, whatever next. All right, so we're just bringing it up a bit here. Gonna speed up a little bit to get out of the way of this 16 that's coming out. Once again, we're gonna bring it close into the beach. Just making sure at this stage that I haven't got ropes around my feet so that I'm ready to get into the water. And just turning up a little bit there, letting the sail out, just plopping in, and just like with the catamaran, getting to the front of the boat as soon as possible, because it's the front of the boat where you have the most control of the boat. Okay, so there we go. That was some beach approach in the cross shore wind when we've got a bit more wind, to show that it can be done in a controlled manner. But the main points are depower the boat while you're still out at sea. So let off the downhaul and the jib while you're still a good distance out, and do as much preparation as you can before you get back in. And then when you're approaching, bring the boat in really close to the beach before you get off the boat, and then leave the main sheet attached until the boat is either being securely held in shallow water or once the boat is on a mooring. So thanks for watching. I hope that's been useful and entertaining and informative and everything that you hoped for. Thanks again to everybody who's been supporting the channel through one of the many means that are listed in the description below. So check that out if you want to give something back for this great sailing knowledge you are gaining here on the Joyrider TV channel. And we'll see you soon with some more. Thank you very much.